What's up in War Eagle War Report family? It's your guy Ike Jones back with the morning drop. And today, Auburn is looking to go for the clean sweep in Alabama recruiting. Can they pull it off? We'll talk about it right here. Y'all know how we do, War Report style. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Morning drop. It is Monday, August the 5th, and we are back with the morning drop. I know y'all been missing having me in here talking to y'all in the mornings, man, but it's your guy Ike Jones. Of course, we are here courtesy of the good folks over at Rogue Shop. Make sure that you check them out. RogueShop.com. Use code REPORT when you do to get a little something off of your purchase. Rogue Shop is America's #1 online dispensary where you need something for sleep, stress, pain, anxiety, all that. You got that right there at the Rogue Shop. Make sure you hit our guys up. Let's get over here into the conversation and talk about Auburn recruiting. Now, we all know that I don't have any intel on Auburn recruiting. I haven't been out here rigorously studying this stuff. But what I have done is taken a look at what we've done so far, and then we can talk about an assessment of what's happening in Auburn with the recent commitment of Jared Smith, the edge here in Alabama, has now gotten 8 out of the top 10 recruits in the state of Alabama committed to the 2025 recruiting class. So props to Coach Hugh Freeze and his staff. This is a dynamic staff. Listen, when we talked about the staff composition at the beginning of all of this going into this season, we knew that this was going to be a staff that could recruit really well. And it's a staff that has long since, really for the past few years, they've had ties in the state of Alabama when you talk about just dynamic recruiting prowess here in the southeastern region, particularly in the state of Alabama. You know, you've got guys that can come in and do that at a prolific level, and it's showing right now in this recruiting class. So props to Coach Hugh Freeze in the way that he's composed this class, and props to all of the people that are out there working on behalf of Auburn here to get this staff moving in the right direction and get this recruiting class now poised to be in the top 5. This is a place where Coach Hugh Freeze has said all along that he wants his class to be for 2025. And right now they're on the precipice of it. There was a point in time there where there were a couple of decommitments that happened, and Auburn was right there at the top 5 at that point in time, but then slipped down really outside of the top 10. But after the recent commitments of both of the Smiths here in the state of Alabama, being Derek Smith and now Jared Smith, right back up into the top 5 and knocking on the door really of what could be a top 3 class, really, when it's all said and done. Not sure where in the top 3, but definitely could be in the top 3 before things are all said and done. But they still have a lot of work to do to get across the finish line. You guys know that I am not going to be one to sit here and celebrate too early about whether or not this class can be where it's projected to be. But listen, call it what it is. It is a top 5 class as it sits today, with the ability to go even higher in that class ranking. Because when you look at it, and I'm using 247 as the rating system here, when you look at it from the class rankings, 247 shows that Auburn does not have any 5 stars committed. However, when you look at the recruitment rankings for the particular recruits that are in the class already, you'll see a couple of those guys are already poised to be 5 stars. So I anticipate that changing. And once the 5-star ratings come in for the guys that are already committed to this class, not just the ones from the state of Alabama, but already committed to Auburn's class, then you'll see those rankings change a little bit. And Auburn really could be right there amongst the leaders in college football going into that 2025 recruiting ranking. So props again to the staff for being able to put that together. But let's talk about the most recent commit, and that is one Jared Smith, the edge player. He is listed at 6'6.5", 235 pounds. He's one of those guys that is rated as a 5-star when you look at his profile, but then if you look at the Auburn rankings, it's showing he's a 4-star. I'm not really sure why that works out that way or what's going on with the way that they have that listed on the site there, 247 Sports. But he is currently committed to Auburn. It seems to be a pretty firm commitment. We talked about this on one of the previous shows. When they commit, when the young guys commit this late in the cycle, then you tend to think that they are going to not just be a lean in that direction, but they are pretty firm commitment. It's kind of late to commit this late, excuse me, in it, going into their senior season and flip this late. That doesn't typically happen. But listen, I'm not ruling anything out. Again, I'm not saying for sure all of these young men that are in this recruiting class will absolutely be Auburn Tigers when it's all said and done on signing day. But it's very good to have a commitment come this late, coming close to the senior season starting, because more and more of these young men are wanting to get a lot of this recruitment stuff done before they get into their senior season. They want to sign on early signing day, so you're really losing opportunities to be able to gain that commitment, or excuse me, flip that commitment once it's been gained from someone. Now, if there is a commitment that's been long standing, that's the ones that you might want to look towards a flip. And we'll talk about some of the guys who are not in Auburn's recruiting class that would make up that top 10 sweep here in just a moment, that could allow for Auburn to get even further towards the number one recruited class, rated recruiting class in 2025, and pull off the top 10 sweep, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But before we do that, supercharge things happening in Auburn. And if you want to supercharge your performance like they have with this recruiting, you want to make sure that you hit up the folks over at JOYMODE. Use joymode.com as the website that you can go to, and you can get 20% off plus free shipping when you use code RAPPORT. Listen, let's call out the obvious here. Everyone wants to head into the bedroom with confidence, feeling like the best version of themselves. But the problem is sometimes our thoughts get in the way of the performance, or maybe we feel like we're just not reaching our full potential. Imagine a supplement you can take, like your favorite green packets, that give you that extra dose of confidence and saves you the embarrassment and hassle of a traditional erection pill. It comes in a palm-sized packet like your favorite electrolyte powder. So make sure that you head over there and go to usejoymode.com if you feel like you want to do that. And it can improve your cardiovascular health. It's not just for those that are looking for something for a supplement for their sexual experience. If you want to use it like a pre-workout, you absolutely can. The ingredients have been assessed and peer reviewed in journals. All ingredients have been studied and researched by humans. And I don't know about you, but I'll never go back to over-the-counter drugs after trying Joy Mode. Small enough to fit in your wallet and take with you on the go. It's the perfect travel companion. Again, go to usejoymode.com using code RAPPORT to get 20% off and free shipping at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping when you use code RAPPORT at usejoymode.com. Great sex solved naturally. Let's go back over and talk a little bit more about this recruiting class, though, that does not need any boosters because they are performing to the maximum level. Auburn is on a heater right now as far as recruiting is concerned. And listen, they have the opportunity to pull off the sweep. Josh Aldridge, actually, the linebacker coach for Auburn, tweeted out so much, saying, he tweeted out the broomsticks and said sweep. This is something that they're pushing for. This seems like this is a goal for this recruiting class to pull off the in-state sweep of the top 10. And they've done a marvelous job of being able to do it. When you look at the Alabama recruits listed in the top 10 by 247 Sports here, you can see cornerback Naeem offered, excuse me, and Zion Grady are the only two listed in the top 10 currently that Auburn does not have the commitment from. Both of those young men currently committed to Ohio State. But you see the landscape right there. Auburn has the opportunity to be able to do that. Naeem Offord is the guy who Coach Hugh Freeze has made it very public that he actually wants to gain the commitment of this young man. So it's not one of those things where he wasn't really a take by Auburn. Naeem Offord is the number one recruit in the state of Alabama, and it's someone who is a potential game changer, program changing type of talent to bring into your situation. They're pushing very hard for his commitment, and he's a guy who I think they're going to pull out all the stops. If Naeem Offord does not land with Auburn, doesn't flip from Ohio State, it will not be from a lack of effort from Coach Hugh Freeze and this staff trying to get him on board. Zion Grady, he's the one that I'm not as sure about whether or not Auburn is pushing particularly hard for him. But I do know, again, that this is a goal. if you look at what's happening and reading the tea leaves of what's happening with recruiting, they have a goal to be able to pull off this sweep of the top 10 in the state of Alabama. And I would not put it past a coaching staff that is this fervent in the way that they recruit to pull out all the stops to try to make that happen. Now, what those stops are, I don't know. I'm not suggesting anything nefarious or anything that's going to be crazy happening, but I do know that this is something that they're going to be pushing for. The question is kind of what are the things that are going to tilt the scales in the favor of the Auburn Tigers in terms of those other two, while keeping the other guys solidified in the ship. Now, listen, we just talked about Jared Smith and Derek Smith. Those guys seem the most unlikely to flip because of how recently they've made their commitment. Malik Autry is a guy that has seen as being potentially wavering. But then when you look at him talking about the commitments of other people to the class, it seems as if he's on board with all of the things that are happening. Eric Winters, Jacaleb Falk being the brother of Keldrick Falk, he seems pretty solid in his commitment. The same thing I was about to say about Eric Winters. He's one of the more recent commits and does seem firm in that commitment. Jordan Crawford doesn't feel like he's going anywhere. Jordan Crawford's actually, he might be my favorite guy from this class. 6'1 and a half, 300 pounds. Like, he is just a beast there in the middle of that defensive line to put there. Anquan Fegans, again, a guy who committed more recently, so that feels pretty solid. And then Antonio Coleman, we've talked about this one before. He's made his flips back and forth between Auburn and Alabama, but in his most recent commitment, he talked about the fact that, hey, you don't have to worry about it. This is home for me, and I am sticking with Auburn. So it feels as if really like 7 of those 8 guys are fairly firm in their commitment. So Auburn will be able to at least make sure they're doing that. But really it could be 8 of 8. And so they can shift their focus in trying to complete the season sweep of that top 10 and really push hard for those last 2 guys. A quarterback, another running back, and those 2 might round out the class for Auburn from all the things that I've heard. And maybe one other surprise person that people aren't talking about. But I would expect Auburn to try to at least add another 4, maybe 5 to this recruiting class. Again, I'm not a recruiting insider. I am passing along information that I've heard from recruiting insiders about this whole thing. But again, potentially adding 4, maybe 5 more additional guys. But they want to get those other 2 in the top 10 as a part of this recruiting class. But I want to hear from you all and how you think things are going with Auburn recruiting. And do you think Auburn can pull off the sweep? 10 for 10 in Alabama in the top 10 recruits. Let me know right down in the comment section how you're feeling about all of those things. Before we get out of here, once again, make sure that you guys hit up our sponsor, Rogue Shop. Use code RAPPORT when you go over there to get a little something off of your purchase there. We'll be back at you with another morning drop. Make sure you like the video, comment, subscribe, all of those things before you get out of here. And we'll be back with you again with another morning drop tomorrow. But until then, and as always, War Eagle.